Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Back Nine Report. Every week, my co-host Fred Altvater and I get together and check in on the world of golf to bring you the latest news, insights, analysis, interviews, recaps, previews, and we cover anything and everything golf. In other words, if it happened in golf, we have it for you. Fred, hi, how are you this week?
Hey, Carlos, glad to see you're out of the snowbank up there, and you got evidently you got some heat, you got electric, so you're back in business there in Texas.
Yeah, it's it was tough. I was 3 days without power, and then when I finally got power, I had no internet. So you know how things are. So I was trying to survive here, but it was really, really, really bad. I mean, just we were inside the house, dressed as if we were outside the house. So
I've been
it
there.
wasn't, yeah. So I mean, for you guys up north, that is just like, okay, let's just go grab a beer and just be outside, enjoying the snow and all that.
Exactly.
Here we have no clue of what to do. I mean, Texas is that I was just everywhere that I would see the news about how is it going everywhere else. All major news was what was going on in Texas.
Yeah.
Nothing from anywhere else. It's like Texas is struggling. What is going on there? Oh my God, that is so nowhere else that itches. It was
I
only in
see.
Texas.
I see some government officials resigned today that were in the electric grid deal.
They're
They,
cut. Yeah.
yeah, they're gone.
Yeah, but you see, today was 81 degrees, so it's like uh, it was -1 last Tuesday, 81 today. It's
Yeah,
that's just Texas for
you got it.
you.
Hey, I do believe we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel for fans returning to golf and sporting events in general. I don't. There's been a lot of stuff coming out almost every day. They're going to allow maybe 10,000 fans at, some of the events coming up, and they're allowing more fans in the golf events in Florida coming up. So it looks like with the vaccine now and the medical personnel all getting vaccinated, so they're not in danger anymore. The hospitals are not being overrun anymore. So maybe we're going to get back to some kind of semblance of normality here by midsummer. What do you think?
I hope so. I mean, I was reading intentionally yesterday some of the graphics, at least that pertain to our county here and to Texas, of course. And the graphics are going down, which is a good thing, right? I mean, still not zero or even, you know, at the point that you can say, okay, let me safely go outside. And we're going to talk about what Dr. Fauci is saying. But anyway, it's good to at least seeing that everywhere else you're seeing the curve is going down, which is what everybody's been waiting for, and it really makes you feel like okay, there's what you're saying, that silver lining happening. So definitely feeling very confident that hopefully by summer we could be maybe some sort of normalcy, but we'll talk a little bit about that in a short while.
Carlos, we got a big story in the news just broke today.
Definitely, and let's get started right away with it because this might be the news of the year. Definitely, and it will depend on what happens afterwards. But for now, really, there hasn't been any bigger news than Tiger Woods suffering serious injuries to both his legs after he was involved in a single vehicle rollover crash Tuesday morning near Los Angeles. What does that mean? It was that it was only his car that was involved in that crash. He was conscious when the deputies arrived at the scene in Rancho Palos Verdes. In Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva said in a conference news that he was having on Tuesday, if you're just learning about it, let me tell you a little bit about what we know about the crash. He was in his 2021 Genesis. He was going downhill on a winding road and crossed the median before crashing into a curb and overturning into a brush. Neighbors called 911 about the crash at around 7:12 a.m. local time. That's West Coast. About his injuries, we know that they're not life-threatening. He was able to communicate and he was conscious. That's what the sheriff said. But both legs were injured, and according to LA County Fire Chief Dara Osby and Deputy Carlos Gonzalez, who was the first responder at the scene, he said that he was not able to stand on his own power. the investigation so far says that the airbags in the vehicle were deployed and he was wearing a seatbelt. Great thing. And the sheriff says, hey, that might have saved his life because otherwise, and you have seen, if you have seen how it looks for the pictures that we have seen and everything that I I mean, I was like, this is Kobe Bryant happening again. I actually thought the worst when I started to see it. It appears that he was going at a relatively greater speed than normal. That's what apparently is happening. I mean, the investigation's still going. They're saying that there was no skid marks, no braking. So still inconclusive, right? But the sheriff says there were no signs of impairment. Good thing, but tests are still being conducted. There's some other news reports that are coming out now and surfacing that Tiger's crash on Tuesday. He was getting ready to apparently pass along his knowledge of the game to two NFL stars. He has been working with Discovery Networks. He was expected to tape two teaching lessons at the Rolling Hills Country Club. That was at 8 a.m. local time. So it's the timing is there, right? It says that he might have been. He was expected to meet with Drew Brees from the Saints and with Justin Herbert from the Chargers. But apparently he was running late when he took off from the hotel waiting for his SUV from the valet. And some sources are saying that, the crew and the handler went ahead, hey, let's just take everything, get ready to get it shot ready. But Fred, they were waiting about for 2 hours and he had not shown on. And then they heard about the crash and all this stuff. That is what happened. But what's your first take on this, about what we have learned so far? And let's talk a little bit about what this is going to mean for Tiger Woods' future in golf.
Well, you just told me more than what I really knew. I thought it happened actually earlier in the morning, in the early morning hours of Tuesday. So, the your mind goes to the worst thing, right? Is Tiger, with all the pain he's dealing with, is he dealing with painkillers again? Was he out with some guy? Because he did some stuff with David Spade, and they're taping some stuff for Discovery while he's out there. And you just wonder if maybe something happened. He got some stuff he shouldn't have, or that kind of thing. But from what you said, he's really on his way to work, and so it's at like 7 in the morning. It should have been fine. So did he have, did he like black out? Did he, what happened? Maybe some of the drugs that he's taking for his back, he had a bad reaction to. Hopefully those are the kind of things. So then the second thing that you think about is, oh my goodness, what does this mean for him playing again? Is the last time we're going to see him play with Charlie in the PNC last winter? Is that the last we're going to see Tiger Woods on a golf course? Um, it was already iffy with his back after this last surgery. He was on TV on Sunday talking to Jim Nance. He didn't sound, it didn't paint a rosy picture. He said, right now, he said, I got one back. I've got to take care of that. I have no time frame. I don't know when I'm going to be able to go back trying to swing a club again. So it did not sound all that great from when he was talking to Nance on TV. And then this happens, and we come to understand that they're doing surgery on his legs. So obviously he's got broken legs. They've obviously maybe have put pins in or something. That's going to create problems. There's going to be a long recuperation time from that. He's already 45 years old. Um, this thing, it may be over, Carlos. It may be over for him.
It may be, but if there is anything that we can take positive out of this, because it's hard to say that there's any positives on this, right? But Gonzalez, the sheriff that was there, he was the first one to go there. He said, when he was there, he was lucid and calm, which makes you think, okay, maybe it's not that bad. But of course, he asked him. He saw the condition of his legs. Definitely said, okay, it's better to wait for the fireman to get here to get you out, because he obviously saw that, and he said, okay. He asked him his name. He said, hey, my name is Tiger, and immediately he said, oh, I know who he is. So he asked him where he was at the time of day, make sure that he was oriented, and he said everything correctly as it should have been. So at least we know that he wasn't, impaired at the time. He was he was active. At least he said that he wasn't even concerned about his injuries at the time, which is not uncommon in traffic collisions because you're shocked about what happened, right? But at least you can say, well, maybe there's some positive things coming out of this. Maybe it's a broken leg that can be repaired, but it really looked really bad. The way they had to get him out of the wind from the windshield with an axe, cutting the windshield to get him out. So it was really a bad thing. But if there's any positive things to think about, is that at least maybe it wasn't that bad as it seemed if he was that way. Now we don't know. We will. All we know is that Mark Steinberg saying, the usual. We have to respect the privacy at this moment. We don't want to talk about it at this, but that's not new with Tiger. They will never talk anything until they get their story straight and all that. But of course, we'll know more. It's multiple injuries. I think, Fred, and initially when I talked to you about it, I said this is over. I don't see how he can come back from this one. So many things. His back. I mean, everything that he has gone through, and he was trying to get back from something right now that it wasn't looking very good for him. At this is the whole year's out. I don't even know if next year he's going to be able to come back. And is the question would be, is it worth it? At what condition will he be back in? Can you do, because we saw, if he's gonna take any inspiration from somebody, the first thing that came to mind for me was Alex Smith from the Washington football team. That was the most incredible comeback history ever. I
How
mean,
many surgeries that? Like 7 or 9 surgeries or something. I mean, it was unbelievable.
not only that, he was about to lose the legs. Okay, so that bad it was, and the way that he was able to come back and play football. Okay, where you one more hit. I mean, when I saw Alex Smith playing, I was just like the first hit.
Yeah,
That's it. He's
yeah,
done.
I know.
So the same
It's
thing
like
is
you're
gonna.
walking, dude. Don't go out on the football field. Just
Yeah,
leave it
just
alone.
it's the
Yeah.
same thing would come with Tiger now. It's like, is it really worth it for you? You have all the money in the world. Why would you try to come back now? And that's what I think right now is going to be the theme about this. First of all, we are going to be thinking, hey, wishing him the best, get ready, get recover. I mean, the outpouring of support from everybody in the world, the sports world, and everywhere, including past President Donald Trump. Hey, get better and get there. But I really don't see. I don't think it's worth it for him to get back. If it's severe, what happened to him, I don't think it's worth it. He has more money than he can use.
I mean, it could be a thing too with his back that, his legs went numb. He had a spasm and his lower body just, and maybe he slammed his foot on the accelerator and he couldn't do anything about it because he was numb, maybe. You don't know. You said the sheriff said he was standing and he was okay. So maybe that worked as, I mean, I've had back spasms where it takes your breath away and you can't move. I mean, it just, you're just paralyzed. So, in his situation with what I could envision that happening while he's driving a vehicle. So, I don't know. You just hope for the best, Carlos. It's been so much fun watching him play golf over these 30 years. Just to think that he might really be done. We've been talking about this now for a while because of his back surgeries, his knee surgeries, and all these things, and he keeps coming back. So I'm not going to say this is it for him because you don't want to ever bet against the guy. You just don't know. But at 45 years old, with numerous back surgeries, now with leg issues, how much more can the guy do? He's had a tremendous career. This might be it.
Could be it. Again, like you, again, I want to clarify. He was not standing. He was. They tried to stand him, but he couldn't stand on his own. So, they immediately knew that he had some issues with his legs. But the thing is, definitely he might come back. We have to wait until to see how bad the injuries were. I mean, science right now, and what the sheriff was saying that the interior of the Genesis SUV acted like a cushion. Otherwise, it would have been a fatal accident, the way that it was. So we'll see. I mean, we don't know all the details yet. We All we know is this, that he has been having surgery, which wouldn't be uncommon. That was an area that has slopes going down. It was a curve as well, so he went over the divider. What happened? Maybe he was distracted. Maybe he was on a call because he was late. Hey, I'm on my way. Uh, we don't know what happened. We can just speculate about so many things now, but whether it's the end for him, could be. Is it worth it? If it's too severe, man, just forget about it. Let's try to do Tiger Woods 3.0 because you already had 2.0. But anyway, any final words on that before we start talking about what happened this past
No,
week?
just wish him all the best, and hope it works out. And if nothing else, hope his quality of life is fine for the rest of his life. And if we see him back on the golf course, great. If not, it's been wonderful.
It's been a thrill if it was, and if it's not, and if he comes back, it'll be a thrill again too. So, anyway, let's go to the weekend backspin when we talk about what happened this past weekend. There were a couple of tournaments we're going to talk about. The first one was on the PGA Tour, where Max Homa came into the Genesis Invitational. He had made five straight cuts, okay, including a tie for seventh the previous week at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro Am. Credit a newfound sense for Max Homa. Now, credit Homa with his second PGA Tour title. He secured a playoff win at the Riviera Country Club in Pacific Palisades, California, and it's a big one for the Los Angeles native. I mean, the first place check is good for $1.674 million, and with it comes a 3-year PGA Tour exception. So very good for him, right? So Max made a par on the second playoff hole, which was the par 3 14th, defeating Tony Finau, who was unable to make his par to extend the playoff. And it's incredible to say Max Homa has two victories, Tony Finau just one, and nothing against the Max Homa, but just to say how, I mean, Tony Finau just won, and Max now has two. I actually thought this was Tony Finau's second win, and Max definitely he managed to make that remarkable par after his tee shot on the par 14th. I mean, that first play of hole, it was timed next to a tree to the left of the green. I could not believe it how he made that. But anyway, Fino was unable to make it was 6 foot birdie putt to win on the 10, but it was a little difficult. Both players ended the regulation 12 under. Sam Burns finished a shot out of the playoff. Cameron Smith finished solo fourth. John Ram, who stuck around and followed the playoff, finished tied for fifth at 7 under, along with Victor Hovland and Matt Fitzpatrick. Fred Dustin Johnson didn't play that well. He struggled a little bit. He finished at 6 under alongside Wyndham Clark, Matt Jones, and the new Riviera member Francisco Molinari, which keep talking about Francesco. It seems like he is there. He's getting there. And other notables that we can mention: Sander Schauffele, Jordan Spieth, and Patrick Cantley at T15. And I know you like this one. Ricky Fowler was a T20. That's his best finish this season, and his best, and he was T15 at the WGC FedEx St. Jude.
Yeah, Ricky actually had a pretty good Sunday. He moved up, I think, 16 places on Sunday with his round, so he played pretty well then. Tony Finau is Homa won, but Tony Finau is the story of this thing, right? He shoots 64 on Sunday, plays magnificently. Really turned in a great round on Sunday. Nobody's going to remember it though, because Homa and probably the shot of the week, he misses a 2-footer for birdie on the 72nd hole and didn't even hardly touch the cup. He missed it so badly. Then he hits it against a tree, has to has to hook it off of there, bounce it on, ends up saving par when Finau misses the downhill left to right slider. But I got to tell you, so Finau has had 37 top 10 finishes since he won in Puerto Rico 4 years ago. 37 top 10s. He's earned over 22 million in his career. He's not hurting, okay? He's doing pretty good. He's got enough money to feed all those kids for a while. So he's okay. Feel a little bit bad for him, but I really feel once Finau really breaks through in a big event, I think he's going to win in bunches. The guy just has so much game. It's phenomenal. Matt Homa, one of the good guys on tour, really funny. I don't know if you follow his Twitter account. A lot of funny stuff on there, really enjoyable. Sam Burns played really well the first 3 rounds, and he played okay on Sunday, but he fell down the leaderboard a little bit, just not quite good enough. Really impressed with him, though, Carlos. I think he's going to be a winner as well. I like Sam Burns. I like his game. You mentioned big names at the top. John Rahm, Cam Smith, Victor Hovland, we're talking about him again. Francisco, sneaky finish, tied for 8th. Dustin Johnson was also T8. Dustin just kind of failed to get it done on the back 9. Just didn't really get anything going on Sunday. Jordan Spieth played pretty well again. He faltered a little bit on Saturday. The round got suspended. It was really windy. I don't know if you watched any of Sunday, man. It was so windy. The ball would not stay on the green. If you had a downwind chip shot, you couldn't keep it on the green. The wind would just blow it right off the other side. And so that's when they finally suspended play. But it was tough playing on Saturday, and they had to come back out and finish early Sunday morning. But Jordan played well. I mean, he's getting to where he wants to be. And I know you hated missing last week because you really wanted to get on the Jordan Spieth bandwagon. So I'll give you
let me correct this. I have been in the Jordan Spieth bandwagon for the past 3 years. I have not left it. I have not left it. I was just going to say, I'm going all in. He's going to make the Ryder Cup. So I'm saying it today, but I said it last week, which I wanted to say it on Tuesday. I'm all in. He's going to make it on his own. He's not going to be invited. That's how good he's going to be. So Jordan, we're in Dallas. We can, I'll get to you. So.
Well, he's got a long ways to go and a relatively short time to get there. But the good news is there's a lot of big events between now and then that will gain him a lot
the
of
Masters
points.
is there. I'm hoping, and I'm going all out on him on the Masters. Now that Tiger's not going to be there, so it's all Jordan on the Masters. So you'll see. That's my pick already. Jordan to win it. So
There
don't
you
worry
go.
about it.
A lot of guys, big names missed the cut. Rory McIlroy, just, uncharacteristically missed the cut. 73, 76 and gone. Justin Thomas missed the cut. I think he was still in, a little bit of the mode for missing his grandfather, the death of that happened the week before. So that's maybe a little understandable. Matt Kuchar, Sergio, Bryson looked bad missing the cut too. Bubba missed the cut. Bubba didn't play that bad on Thursday, but he didn't play very good on Friday. John Augustine, who made his inaugural pro tour start, missed the cut. First tournament as a pro. Carlos Riviera looked great. The high winds, we could have done without some of that. The winds just whipped down through the canyon there and really made it difficult all weekend. But Sunday, the play was pretty good Sunday. I got to say the play on Sunday was lackluster. I mean, I had to make myself watch it, right? I couldn't get excited about it. I kind of flipped around other stuff and I'd come back to it. And it wasn't exciting until the last 2 or 3 holes. Then it got kind of exciting between 3 or 4 players there. But Homa, I'm telling you, his drive and his second shot on 18, they were like perfect, as perfect as you could make them. And then he missed a little putt. So, but then he redeemed it in the playoff, and good for him for second win. Tony Finau, though, he's going to win in bunches one of these days.
Yeah, I can't wait for that because it's just like you're saying. Once he get that first one, I think the monkey will be off his back and he will be able to just burst out in it because he's been
He
so
didn't. I
close so
mean,
many
he really didn't
times.
do anything wrong. I know the
No, it
media is
was
making a
Max
big
who
deal.
made it. Yeah,
Yeah, the media is making a big deal about him missing that putt on 10 on the playoff. That was not that easy a
that
putt. I'm
wasn't easy.
sorry.
No,
You know,
no
if you're
way.
going to win, you make those. I understand that, but it wasn't a give me by any stretch. It
Yeah,
was a hard putt. 10 is a hard hole. It's my
definitely.
favorite hole to watch on the golf course. It's fantastic. But no, Tony Finau didn't do anything wrong. Shoots 64 on a final day on tough conditions. Just wasn't his time.
That was insane. But hey, but for Max, those 68 points moved him from 91st to 38th on the official World Golf rankings, which is a huge jump, and on the FedEx Cup rankings from 79 to 10th. So big time for him. Now there was also some action on the Corn Ferry Tour where perhaps the least likely golfer to win the third annual Le Compton Ghost Classic claimed the crown on Sunday, and it was on a silent death also at the Lakewood National Golf Club. They finished the 76, 72 holes of play tied at 13. Uh, Taylor Montgomery of Las Vegas, Dawson Armstrong of Valdosta, and 24-year-old Hayden Buckley from Chattanooga, Tennessee. They went out and birdied a par for 18, and it was Hayden who went out and when birdied a par for 18 to win on the first hole of sudden death. But if you come to think about it, he seemed like he was light years away from being a final day contender because he didn't make it through Monday's qualifier to make it into the field. He made the list of alternates and turned out to be the 144th player that was admitted to the draw. He was in the practice range. The practice putting green at 7 a.m. when he got the call at 7:17.
In
you
the
know,
dark.
you
In the
have a tee time on Thursday. He barely made it on time to the tee off, so I don't know how he made it, but he did. He said afterwards, he said, I belong here. I was just waiting for my chance to show it because I'm playing very consistent. Fred, I don't think anybody can argue with him after this week. It was his first ever Corn Ferry Championship, along with his inaugural top 10 finish, and he took home 180,000 of the $600,000 purse.
Yeah, he goes from 85th to 27th in the point standings. And, as you know, it's going to run all year. It's last year and this year cumulative on the Corn Ferry Tour. This is his rookie season after being on the Mackenzie Tour. Prior to that, he attended the University of Missouri, was a walk-on. So, he was underdog. Nobody makes it in a major college as a walk-on. It just doesn't happen, right? Because you got all these guys in there on scholarship, and they get the benefit of the doubt. So walk-on has to be really good. And then he ended up with the lowest scoring average in University of Missouri history, which is amazing. So Armstrong, Montgomery, they finished runner-up. They tied for second. And for Montgomery, he moves to 14th in the points. Armstrong goes to 37th. So Buckley, if he just plays along and stays consistent now for the next few months, he'll be on the PGA Tour next year.
Definitely, and that's a name to watch. I mean, he played pretty well, so he seems like he has game and he has at least the attitude to win. So we'll see a little bit more about him. And with that, we wrap up our backspin, where we tell you what happened this past weekend. Now we're gonna get into the course, which means we're gonna talk to you about some news. And the top of the news for us has to be about the USGA and the R&A because they announced on Monday, and this is something that goes back a little while that we have been expecting to happen, right? Those they made some proposals to the rules of amateur status in golf, one of which would allow endorsements to amateur players. Ooh, that's unheard of, right? But anyway, citing a need to modernize the current system, the governing bodies tweaked a series of provisions in the sport while they still adhere to the principles that constitute amateur status. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that soon. But anyway, I'm going to tell first some of the notable proposed changes. They include to eliminate all sponsorship related restrictions, remove any restrictions on how an amateur may benefit from his or her name, image, or likeness, including but not limited to the receipt of expenses, eliminate the distinction between cash and other forms of prizes. Makes sense. I mean, a form of prize could be the same thing as a cash anyway. Reduce the wait period for amateur reinstatement. Under the new proposed rules, an amateur can only violate their status in three ways, which is accepting a price in excess of the price limit, $750, accepting payment for the instruction, and accepting paying employment as a club professional. Those changes come after a number of state legislatures. They have passed bills regarding amateur athletes receiving assistance and endorsement for their talents. We talked about the NCAA, what's going to happen when that was going to be done, right? And we were expecting maybe them to take the initial vote on this, but they were supposed to vote on an update on its rules on amateur compensation. But in January, then they said, well, we're going to delay the process a little while. Now, back to the R&A and the USGA, those changes are not official, as there will be a public feedback period starting with this announcement March 26th. So, Fred, the hope right now is for the proposed changes to go into effect January 1st of next year. I don't expect any backlash in this. I think this is just going to be approved because of the way things are going. But what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to the court ruling. We talked about this a couple of years ago when the court ruling came down that said, hey, amateur athletes, football players primarily, and basketball players have to be able to be compensated, for their use of their image. And that, the colleges could pay their athletes something. And so we knew at that point in time that a lot of things would have to change. And amateurism in golf has been an issue for as long as longer than I've been alive. You can go back, Harvey, just ask Harvey Ward about it, ask Ken Venturi, ask some other guys about it who wanted to maintain their amateur status, but played at a high level of amateurism. And, money flows a little bit when you're there, and guys want to give you a few bucks here and there. And it's always been kind of blurry what could be done. I really think the fact that they can now accept sponsor money or endorsement money, I think that's really a big deal. Especially now with things like the Golf Channel putting amateur events on television. Why shouldn't these guys be paid if they're selling products for those TV stations? They should get some of that because they're being used for that. So I think that's a really good deal. And as we've seen the Amateur Golf Alliance, we've had Alan Fidel on talking about the AGA and their efforts to help fund amateurs so that they can compete. Really good amateurs who maybe don't have the funds to travel and do the things they need to do to compete at the highest level, they have been able to come in and support the Curtis Cup teams and the Walker Cup teams and all these kind of things. So this is one more step. We knew when it happened, when the court ruling came down a couple of years ago out in California, and we're just kind of seeing the culmination of this. And quite honestly, Carlos, we give the USGA a lot of grief. I think this is probably a good thing all in all. They're pretty, they list it out. It's very simple, very understandable. I like it. I do like it.
Well, I go back to what I said originally. To me, this is just the end of amateurism. It doesn't make sense to call somebody amateur and pay him. I understand the point, but about hey, I'm using your image, but that's what amateurs used to be about. Now, if you're going to start paying them, just stop calling them amateurs. They're pros. They're earning a living or they're earning something on it. Just let them be. There can be just different types of professionals. Okay, a lower tier, the higher tier, whatever you want to call it. But just don't just eliminate this amateur thing because there's no way you can keep calling this amateurs. It's just not happening. Just like when it happened in the Olympics, that you started to put the pros to play as well, Look, it's over. It's the same thing. There's not more than that. This is the end of that, and it started when it was accepted for the NCAA play for the college players, athletes to start getting paid. So yeah, to me that's just it. Just forget about this. Just allow anybody to earn whatever it is, and let's stop about it. Because anyway, they are, like you're saying, they're promoting something. So if you want to pay for them, pay it. But again, it's to me, it's just end this. Let's just call it what it is. Everybody's a pro, and that's it.
It's been a
Anyway,
really difficult issue for a long, long time, and I applaud them for at least making it clear and understandable. Yeah, I mean, we can debate, are you an amateur, are you a pro? If you take money, you're a pro, and all this kind of thing. But I don't know. I think this is a good thing all in all, Carlos. I think long term it'll be a good deal.
yeah, but see, this is what I don't get. Okay, you are eliminating the distinction between cash and forms of prices, but at the same time, you're eliminating all sponsorship related restrictions. So you're allowing them to get paid for that sponsorship, but then you say, "Oh, hold on, you cannot accept the price in excess of the price limit, which is $750." But I'm earning more on the sponsorship.
Yeah,
So what is it? What
yeah.
is it really? It's just ridiculous. To me, it's just that uh, I don't know. It's just for me, stop calling them amateurs. Just let them earn their living. Anyway, it doesn't make sense. I'm earning more from sponsorships that I would do on a prize. So anyway, we'll see. But hey, happy for them if they're gonna do it. Great. Anyway, let's talk about Dr. Anthony Fauci. We said that we were going to talk about him, and the situation is that he's saying, hey, there's a pretty good chance that fans will return to the stands this season at the MLB as long as the rate of COVID-19 infections continue to decline, which we talk at the top of the show. That's what we're seeing. It continues to decline. Fauci is now the chief medical advisor to President Joe Biden. He told ESPN that, hey, we could have people in the stands, maybe not right to each other. That's not going to happen. But anyway, fan attendance for the upcoming season is dependent on decisions by local municipalities, meaning that amounts of fans allowed in parks will vary from city to city. Now, spring training is expected to start with limited fan attendance in Arizona and in Florida, which is where they are, the states that have allowed fans back to professional sporting events such as the NFL and the NBA in recent months. So, Fred, Fauci is uncertain when the MLB will see return to full stadiums or anywhere else, right? Saying that it will take 75 to 80% of the population being vaccinated and maintaining that rate of infection staying low. So it seems like at least we're seeing some change in the stance of, yeah, we can start getting people back. And what do you think about this, and what are you seeing elsewhere being talked about this?
Well, one thing in California, um, there was two schools had gone together and filed a lawsuit against the state for stopping high school athletics. High school athletics, of course, were stopped in March of last year. So there hasn't been any high school athletics in California since then. So these two schools went together, filed a lawsuit. So the judge from down by San Diego was going to the next day was going to issue an edict saying, okay, this ban is over. It's the state doesn't have the power to do this. Let's get high school athletics going back together. So the governor kind of jumped in, a half day before the afternoon before he was going to give the judge was going to give the verdict the next day and said, okay, we'll open high school sports back up. So in California, if California opens up sports, the rest of the world is ready to fill up stands, right? Because California, they're about as yeah, well, they're weird out there. But anyhow, so yeah, and then we're hearing that some places they're going to allow 10,000 people in the stands. I really this vaccine seems to be working pretty well. If nothing else, people are confident about it. Okay. and they kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they're so sick of this mask stuff and social distancing, and you can't do this, you can't go to that. So they're ready to do anything. And if it opens up a little bit, people are going to jump all over it. So I think we're going to start seeing it, Carlos, and I hope so for sure.
Definitely, and we can't wait. I mean, I just want to have some sense of normality again. Just go out and not have to wear my mask. I hate it. But anyway, it's just what it is. We have to do it. Hey, Fred, the comments blew up Friday night. On Saturday, we got angry reactions ranging across the internet. And why? Because former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani told a story about uh, Michelle Wee West on Steve Bannon's War Room podcast Thursday, which made headlines. Now, the story, which recounts a round of Giuliani played with the late Rush Limbaugh because they were talking about his death and all this. So he made this story about at a charity fundraiser 7 years ago, and that made Wee West shudder, as she was saying, uh, in a statement that she released on Twitter late Friday night. She wrote in part, I shudder thinking that he was smiling to my face and complimenting me on my game while objectifying me. Now, if you have not read or heard the story or his comments from Giuliani, he began by saying, "Hey, do you have time for a funny story?" And then proceeded to recount around with the Rush Limbaugh at that charity fundraiser, and he was saying that the paparazzi was driving them crazy. He went on to suggest that the photographers were actually in pursuit because of the spotting stance of Michelle Wee, who, at that time she was bending all over, and he says that her panties were showing. That's what he's saying. Now, Fred, he called the story funny. Okay. Instead, the story has drawn the ire of many and of condemnation and all this. Uh, what's your take on it?
Well, as you know, I'm an old guy, but what was Giuliani thinking? Come on, you can't talk like this on the radio. What is wrong with these guys? Um, you and I have been doing this now for 8 years, going on 9 years, and we pretty much think about every word that comes out of our mouth before we say it. These guys are professionals. Giuliani's a professional politician, for goodness sake. What is he thinking telling this story on a live mic? So yeah, I get it. I understand. And we've had. I mean, we can go back clear back to Jan Stevenson, right? In the LPGA, they used the sex appeal to grow the LPGA tour back in the 70s and the 80s with Jan Stevenson. They used it. The young ladies are dressed very nicely on tour. They are dressed they're fit, they're in great shape, and they wear wonderful outfits. Okay. So that's part of the deal. That's what they're selling. Now, for Michelle to get this upset over that, okay, if that's what you want to do, I understand. Um, she caught a lot of grief for that putting stroke. For one thing, she was bent over. They called it the tabletop, where she was bent like an L at a 90-degree angle. And she makes good points. We understand, and the LPGA has been trying for years to say, hey, they're athletes. These are athletes. Don't objectify them as women. They are athletes, and that's all well and good. And you get some old guy like Giuliani who's maybe had one or too many glasses of wine, and if you're talking to Rush Limbaugh off to the side of the green and you talk between yourselves, that's one thing. But then when you relate the story to a live mic, that's something altogether again. So he was wrong. Giuliani was wrong, no question about it. Yeah, if he was in the PGA, he'd be kicked out of office for sure. But I don't know. It's these kind of things pop up. It seems like about every 4 or 5 years we have to have one of these things come up, Carlos. And with all the mics and all the cameras around, everybody's just waiting for somebody to say something they shouldn't say. So Giuliani, you gotta think about what you're talking about, dude. That was stupid.
Yeah, I don't know what went into him. I mean, a professional litigator like him, okay, and
Yeah,
not only that, so much time that he was in politics, right, as a mayor, and that means that when you're a lawyer, litigant like him, a veteran on this, of a career also in politics, you should know what to say and what not to say. So definitely, we're at a point in time that everything that we say definitely will be used against us. So that's why we have to be careful of what we say. Now, that doesn't mean, and because my point always has been, okay, if we say something and it's, you know, whatever it is, you are done. Your career is done. There's no way you can come back from it because everybody else is perfect in the world, right? They can cast the first stone because they have no sins to talk about. That's why you have to take Justin Thomas out of this because he is such a horrific guy by saying what he said, or everybody else. I'm not saying, and I'm not defending Rudy Giuliani if he ever said that, whatever he said, totally wrong. We understand it. But the problem I keep having is, okay, let's just, not. In his case, he's done. Definitely, it's not the first thing that he said that is controversial. But at the same time, what happened with respecting everybody else? You don't like it, that's it. And in his case, yes, he's wrong in saying what he said. Um, at the end of the day, it they have come a long way, like you're saying, on trying to make sure that the LPGA, it's more known, and we respect them for that. And we have talked about the LPGA at large about how we admire their playing. Okay, as women's players, not any objectifying or anything like that. They have a great product. All the top players go week in and week out, so we know about that. But that's why I'm not defending Giuliani, but at the same time, there's sometimes everybody takes just a stand, and it's like, and then not in this case. I'm keeping saying about other things. But yeah, really, you screwed up. Too
stupid,
bad. Really, really
stupid.
stupid what you said. And on, oh my God, no way of defending you. But talking about the LPGA, Fred, there's going to be a new 64 player match play event that will be contested starting in May at Shadow Creek in Las Vegas. The tour announced that last Thursday. It's going to be a $1.5 million purse, and it's going to be called the Bank of Hope LPGA Match Play, which will be staged May 26th to the 30th on the exclusive golf course that hosted the 2018 head-to-head between Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods. That's Shadow Creek, which also hosted the USPGA Tour's CJ Cup last October, which was that event that they moved from South Korea due to COVID-19 issues, with Jason Kokrak taking the title. Now, that field will be divided into 16 groups of 4 players with 3 days of round robins, and then deciding a final bracket for knockout stages culminating in Sunday. Fred, this will be the first LPGA match event since 2017. They had a tournament in Mexico City. We know we have one on the PGA Tour, and it's really something very interesting. I think it's going to create uh, a lot of following on it because there's going to be a lot of heads up. We have so many good players that we would like to see playing against each other on that type of match play, which really gets you like into the Solheim, possible Solheim Cup, or even the International Crown feeling that's going to happen afterwards. So, uh, very good. I think it's a great idea to have this match play event on the LPGA.
Yeah, it's modeled right after the WGC match play that will be coming up here not too long in Austin that they hold every year. And 64 players. I'm going to tell you what, Carlos, you're going to see some young player that we don't know anything about do really well in this thing and end up in the semis or the quarters, and you're going, where did she come from? How did she make it here? You watch. I'm telling you. But this will be good. I like it. I'm glad they announced this. And it's just the same old thing, Michael's going out, Michael won, but they keep adding more events. They keep figuring out how to stick more events in there, even though they can't travel internationally right now as easily. They're playing more stuff in Florida, more stuff in the United States. So kudos to them, and that should be great.
It should be, and can't wait. Like you're saying, it's gonna be the first time in a while, but like you're saying, somebody will pop up out of nowhere, and you're gonna be like, and you're gonna be rooting for it because that's gonna be like the underdog in that type of that type of environment. And also, it's an endurance test because you're gonna have to play a lot of golf in a
Yep.
short amount of time, which is what you're not used to it. And it's different as well because your mindset has to be different. You're playing against somebody else at that time. You're not playing against the field. So interesting. I can't wait to see how is it gonna play out. Fred, sports betting and gaming entertainment firm giant BetMGM and the global in sports entertainment community Top Golf Entertainment Group have struck a new partnership this past week. With integrated sports betting and entertainment experience at the core of that agreement, these two companies will collaborate on marketing and promotional offers through the BetMGM platform at select Topgolf venues and also within the WGT by Topgolf, which is the online game of golf where you can just go there and play. Uh, Golf, basically. The partnership will allow Topgolf and BetMGM to engage with consumers at a large scale while reaching new audiences, both digitally and in person when they go there. So digitally will be on that platform, WGT, and in person once they go to Topgolf venues. The details of the partnership will include digital branding throughout Topgolf venues in cities where BetMGM is operating. So that means that it's going to be including the Topgolf Marquee Las Vegas location at the MGM Grand, Indianapolis, Nashville, Detroit, Virginia Beach, Denver, as well as within the WGT by Topgolf platform. Fred, BetMGM will also be activating branding and promotional integrations in additional Topgolf locations as its sports betting and gaming platforms are going to be becoming available in new states, which we know it's coming after the ruling that happened a couple of years ago. So we keep seeing, at least now, what you think is going to be I mean, first of all, what you think about this matching. I mean, we're just seeing how golf now through Top Golf is starting to get betting into it. Um, it's interesting, because this is gonna be appealing to the not hardcore golfer, but the entertainment golfer, and somehow it's gonna be maybe making an approach to betting in golf as well. So what do you think on that?
Well, the Top Golf facilities are entertainment complexes. They're not really golf driving ranges. Yeah, you can hit some golf balls there and you can play some games on the computer, but you buy food, you buy drinks, you sit around and have fun with your friends. There's all kinds of stuff to do there. It's an entertainment deal. And so I think this is brilliant. Um, we know that Top Golf through COVID last year was struggling mightily, and Callaway came in a stock takeover, took them over in November. And so in November, Callaway stock was trading at 15. I looked at it today, it's at 27. It's almost double what it was in November. And this is going to only help their revenue stream. You got guys, so you when you go, when I go to Vegas or I go to a casino, I don't go punch machines. I don't really like to do that. Slot machines. I go and sit in the sports book, and they'll have like every game going. They'll have it on a screen someplace, and you can bet on whatever game or whatever's up. That's what's going to be like at Top Golf. In the bar, in the dining area, there's going to be screens all over. You're going to be able to go and bet on whatever game or whatever is going to be going on. So I think this is brilliant. It's like off-track betting. You're just going to be putting it into the Top Golf facilities. It's got to be a great revenue stream for Top Golf. And I looking at Callaway's stock. I'm going, why didn't we buy some back last November when they announced this?
Yeah, we were not in Robin Hood or something like that to do this stuff. So unfortunately, we missed out on that one, but definitely a very good investment. And I just think this is the start of maybe bigger things. And golf is just getting started on this betting stuff. Now, one last more piece of news, and that's about a player I love to talk about. And this one is just a beautiful story because Joaquin Niemann, he notched his biggest victory of his young career. And let me tell you, it had nothing to do with his clubs. You might remember at the RSM Classic back in November, Joaquin broke into tears. He was speaking about how his then 1 month old cousin was battling for his life. He desperately needed Solgensma. That is a drug which, according to Neiman, cost $2.1 million. Now, when he learned of that tough hand that his cousin had been dealt, he was saying, I was crazy in my mind. How can I help him? Well, here's the good news. Last Wednesday, he shared the good news that enough money, more than $2.1 million, was raised through his various efforts so that his cousin, his name is Rafita Calderon, could receive the treatment for spinal muscular atrophy, which is a rare genetic disease that affects 1 in every 10,000 babies born every year. Calderon's father, Felipe, flew to the US to purchase the medicine and brought it back to Chile. Neiman's cousin right now is at a medical center in Santiago, which is the capital of Chile. It's 5 hours from where the family lives, but Joaquin is saying that the condition has improved since receiving a one-time injection of Zolgensma, which is a gene therapy drug that was just a few days ago before that Wednesday. So Fred, beautiful story. Great to hear that he was able to do this the way that he did it, spending of his own money as well to try to help his young cousin. It tells you a lot about the type of heart that Joaquin has, and also about what golf we all already know about. It's just the giving nature of people from golf because that's how he started to. We're talking about a golfer, and of course, there's a lot of people related to golf that help him to reach this goal. So happy for him, and hopefully his cousin Rafita gets well and has a great life going forward.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And Joaquin played fantastic golf through this time, right? I mean, a lot of top fives, runner ups. He played really really good golf. He earned a bunch of money himself during that time. And it's just like you say, Carlos. We talk about it all the time. The charity in golf, the $4 billion a year that's generated for charities around the country through outings and through events for things like this that people jump on board and give freely to. So it's the nature of golf. They've been doing it for years. Joaquin Niemann, congratulations for getting this effort started. And yeah, it hit close to his home, and he did something about it. And uh, really phenomenal to raise that kind of money in that short period of time.
Most definitely. And with that, we get off the course, and now tell us a little bit about Boeing.
Well, I've been telling you, I just left Michigan. I'm actually in Toledo tonight. We're getting ready to head over to Arizona here tomorrow. We're taking off, and we've been getting snow like every night up in Michigan. Every night we
Uh,
had. Let's see this. So this is Monday. So Saturday night we had about 4 inches. Last night we had another inch or two. Last night when I went out, I had to clean the truck off. So it's got tremendous snow conditions up at Boyne for skiing right now. But Boyne is a tremendous golfing destination, uh, and they've got great early booking deals for buddies trips, girls golf getaways, family vacations right now at BoyneGolf.com. Carlos, I got to get you up there someday. It's one of the greatest places on earth, especially in the summertime. 3 resorts. You got 3 spas, training facilities, every amenity imaginable. Make the best summer vacation spot in America. So go, BOYN golf.com. And I talked to my friend up there about a week or so ago. They've already booked about 50% of their available tee times for this summer. So don't wait. I'm telling you, they're going like hotcakes up there.
Gotta go there. And now let's talk about the forecall. What's gonna happen this weekend? There's a few tournaments that we have to talk about. The first one and the big one is the World Golf Championships Workday Championship at the concession that's gonna be played at the Concession Golf Club, moved from Mexico, and the defending champion is Patrick Reed. But this is gonna be a 73 player no cut event. The venue was changed from Mexico to the concession last month due to challenges related to COVID 19. The concession is a golf course that was designed by Jack Nicklaus and Tony Jackling, and they named it after Nicklaus' famous concession of a putt tied to Jackling in the 1969 Ryder Cup. This is the first WGC event of the season, following the cancellation of the 2020 HSBC champions. I still have this issue with that was 2020, the wraparound. Got it. Anyway, the field it's going to include the top 15 players in the official World Golf rankings and 48 of the top 50. You know what? That ties for the most in a non-major since the 2019 WGC Dell Technologies match play. Patrick Reed is going to seek his third event win in a different venue. Now, 7 players will make their debut at the WGC event. Laurie Cantor, Thomas Dietrich, Rasmus Højgaard, Min Woo Lee, Trevor Sinsby, Sami Valimaki, and Will Zalatoris. Some names that I've been talking about there. So 5 players who competed on the 2015 NCAA Division One Men's Championship at the concession are going to be here. The champion then Bryson DeChambeau, D3 who was there too, John Ram, Sander Schauffele, and Scotty Scheffler. So Fred, look out, Daniel Berger has made 26 consecutive rounds of par of better, which is the longest active streak on the PGA Tour, and he will be there trying to extend that. So we'll see what happens. Of course, Tiger is not going to be here. Paul Casey and Brandon Stone were the only 3 players who did not enter this week.
Yeah, it's unfortunate they can't do this in Mexico because that was a big deal down there in Mexico City, without question. It really was. But it just couldn't happen. And so concession is a great golf course without question. Yeah, as we know, we've been talking about it. The concession cup has been held there a couple times over the last 4 or 5 years. And so we've talked about it for that. This kicks off a 4-week Florida swing, and we're getting closer to the players. So the big tournaments are coming here, Carlos, for sure. You got $10.5 million purse for this thing, 1.8 million to the winner. It's a big deal. As you mentioned, 48 of the top 50 are here. With a win, Rory could become only the second player to win all 4 of the WGCs. He would join Dustin Johnson to do that. Of course, Dustin's in the field, #1 player in the world, coming off a lackluster finish kind of there at the Genesis last week. So, he'll be looking to rebound a little bit. Yeah, it's great to see all the great players in one field, and this has that. It's like a major. So definitely going to be watching this weekend, Carlos, for sure.
Most definitely. And now another tournament that we're going to have this weekend is the opposite field tournament that happens all the time after at this tournament as well, which is the Puerto Rico Open, one that is close to my heart. I used to go there every time that I was while I was in Puerto Rico. This is going to be the 13th playing of the event. Victor Hovland won it last year, helping me win my prediction back then. He's not going to be able to be there and defend it because he's playing at the WC event. But some other players are going to be there, the ones that did not make it to the WGC event. I'm looking forward to seeing our native Rafael Campos trying to finish for the third time in the top 10, finish in 12 starts there. The winner is going to receive some 300 FedEx Cup points and a 2-year PGA Tour exemption, and an invitation to the Players Championship if they're not previously eligible. So there's plenty to play for here, Fred, in this tournament.
Josh Teeter was the runner-up to Victor Hovland last year, so he might be an early favorite to put on your draft board. And you've got 5 former champions that are in the field of the Puerto Rico Open: Martin Tramer, D.A. Points, Chesson Hadley, Scott Brown, George McNeil. 7 players with at least 5 PGA Tour titles. So they're digging the bottom of the barrel. They got David Duval, Bill Haas, Padraig Harrigan, Hunter Mahan, Jonathan Bird, Carl Pedersen, and Nick Watney. So these guys are trying to still make a few bucks in their career and maybe find their way back up to the big events, get back up to around the top 50. But it'll be a good event, always is. But most of the eyeballs will be on the WGC this weekend, Carlos.
Most definitely, that's an opposite field, but anyway, it always attracts those kind of players that, hey, I don't have a chance right now to be in that big tournament, but hey, they still have something to play and get some golf rounds to play as well. Talking about the LPGA now, they're going to be playing in the Gainesville Championship in Orlando, Florida, and that is going to be played at the Lake Nona Golf Club, Country Club, on a 120 player field. Are going to be competing in a 72 hole no cut event. So 6 of the top 7 players in the Rolex rankings are in the field, which includes number 1 Jin Young Ko and number 2 Se Young Kim. Annika Sorenstam at 50 will be competing in her first LPGA Tour event since 2008. Right now, of course, Lake Nona is the home course for her. She won 72 LPGA events and 10 major championships. Danielle Kang will lead the U.S. Right now, is leading the U.S. Solheim Cup standings with 287 points. So there's going to be some some players trying to gain some points here. Fred, a nice tournament, a lot of big time players there. So uh, can't wait. I mean, they haven't been playing since the Diamond Resorts tournament, and Madeline Sackstrom, who is the defending champion. There was a story about her, which really captivated the news this week about her having been abused sexually when she was a kid. So a lot of attention brought to it. I mean, kudos to her for standing up and bringing that up. It's not easy. It's a very tough subject, but definitely one that has to be brought up for attention and awareness, because that is something that, statistics say that 1 in 6 are, suffering from that when they are kids. So, anything that can be brought up to the news and for this awareness is worthy of, taking our hats off and making it public as well, and, support it as much as we can.
Yeah, for sure. This is the second playing of this event. It was played at the Boca Rio Golf Club in Boca Raton before. This is actually the second LPGA event that's been held at Lake Nona. They held the inaugural Solheim Cup back in 1990 at Lake Nona. And this is the first year for a few years that I haven't got to play Lake Nona because we didn't have the PGA show this year. I usually get to play it on Monday before the show. Well, that didn't happen this year. Of course, we've seen it, when they used to have that Tavistock Club, when, a lot of the European Tour players live at Lake Nona. It's right beside the airport. And a lot of the other pros that used to live in Orlando or did live in Orlando, John Cook and Tiger lived, they lived, and Mark O'Meara, they all lived over at Windermere on the other side of town, over across the lake from Bay Hill. But it's really beautiful golf course, fantastic venue. I think it's going to show up really good for the ladies this week. Also, Carlos, I know you're going to like this. Gabby Ruffles makes her pro debut this week. She was the standout amateur from the University of Southern California, 20 years old, playing on a sponsor's exemption. She's going to be in the ANA, and so the Gamebridge reached out to her and gave her an exemption as well.
Yeah,
I didn't know this, but she played tennis up until she was 15.
yeah.
Both her parents were pro tennis players. Fernandez, and I used to watch her play. I used to love
Ana
her.
Maria Fernandez, yes, and
Yeah,
Ryan Ruffles, her dad,
yeah,
and
just
her
love her.
brother Ryan as well. So, but he
Yeah,
also turned to golf. Both of them turned to golf. Ryan is right now on the Corn Ferry Tour, and she's just making her start. But this is one of the biggest, long-awaited, maybe professional debuts. She's still, she's going to be in the A&A. But the thing is that this is one of the players that are long-awaited to debut here in the professional. So that is definitely a player to be watching this weekend.
that's all I got for you on the Gamebridge.
All right, one more tournament to talk about, and that is the Cologuard Classic in Tucson, Arizona. That's on the Champions Tour. They're going to be playing at the Omni Tucson National. And you got to talk about Phil Mickelson because
Phil Mickelson. What?
Phil
What?
Mickelson, he's not in the WGC and he's not in Puerto
Oh,
Rico. He said, you know
oh.
what? I'm going to try to become the first player ever to win my first three tournaments in any PGA Tour sanctioned tour.
You
Okay,
think he has a chance at the Tucson course? Does he know it? Has he ever played there before?
I don't know. Something tells me that he has some idea of how to play there. Not much, but we'll see. He might play blind there and he can win. But anyway, another player to look for is Alex Sheka because he turned 50 in December, so he's a recent Champions Tour eligible. But he arrived during Tucson after the midnight Sunday night and qualified for his first Champions Tour event with a 67 on Monday. Another player that you want to see is the eight-time MLB All-Star pitcher John Smoltz, who will be making his sixth champion start and his third in this tournament. But the one that everybody still has to look for is the Bernhard Langer. Okay, he has 41 career wins on the Champion Tour, four shy. The countdown is keeps ticking, four shy of Hale Irwin's all-time record, and he's the defending champion, Fred.
Yeah, and Bernhard will be playing with a new set of clubs this week. He switched, just took an endorsement deal with Tour Edge, which was Tour Edge's first ever major endorsement deal for anybody. And as you know, it's been noticing over the last few years, more and more, especially senior players. I think they've got 20 some players right now on pro tours using their exotic shaft, and especially in their hybrids. They have really, really good hybrids and fairway woods. And Bernhard just signed a deal to use all their clubs. So this will be the first event that he's doing that. Curious to see how he gets along with it. And Tour Edge, Carlos, they don't, they're not the $1,000 sets. They're not the $5,000 set. They're American made. They're very good quality, and they won't break the bank. They're really good. They've been around a long time, and they do what they do, and they're very good at it. And so it's a brand that you're going to be seeing more and more of. So watch for that. Um, Monday qualifiers: Alex Checa, Lenny Matisse, Jim Carter, Todd Fisher. You're going to see them in the field. Also, you got Davis Love, Mike Weir making Champions Tour debuts this week. Be curious to see if Mike Weir can compete with on this tour. You know, he wasn't quite long enough to get it done on the regular tour anymore, and so with just a little bit shorter golf courses, he's still a really good player. I'll bet he'll win for sure this year on the Champions Tour. But Phil's all the rage. We got to see Phil. I predict Phil wins this in a runaway by at least 3 or 4 shots. Oh, I think well, the reason I said that, Phil won here before as an amateur. He won. He was still in college when he won the PGA Tour event there that was at Tucson way back 30 years ago, Carlos.
Well, he can play here and he can win definitely. I mean, that's the player to beat right now. I can't bet against Phil, especially because he's a professional better, I guess. I
You
don't
can
know.
take the driver. Phil could leave his driver out of his bag and play probably with a 5 wood and his irons and his putter, and he would still win the tournament. I don't think he would even have to hit a driver.
Well, he will use it because he has
Oh
been
yeah,
practicing and getting stronger to hit it
yeah.
longer, so he's not gonna leave it.
Got to
But
get those.
anyway, yeah. Anyway, any final words you wanted to add to us before we close the show?
I hope everybody checks out Ohio Golf Journal, Michigan Golf Journal, Back Down Report on YouTube. We cover all the golf stuff from every angle, and we enjoy doing it, Carlos.
All right, Pack Niners, that will wrap up another week of the Back Nine Report. Thank you for joining us. It's always our pleasure to bring you the latest on the world of golf. Don't forget to see us again next week on YouTube, or if you miss it, you can check out the audio version on TuneIn. If you haven't done so, it's time. Follow the show on Twitter. Our ID is at Back9Report with the number 9 in the middle. My name is Carlos Torres, along with Fred Altvater. We wish you to be happy, be blessed, and enjoy the great game of golf. Happy golfing, everybody.
Hope I see you on a back nine out in Sedona someplace next week.